Hello, everybody. Welcome along to EFL today with me, Aaron Paul, and him over there, Joe Jacobson, as we navigate through another week in the Football League. Plenty to talk about, but we look ahead to the return of the Championship and a full programme of fixtures following the international break. Him over there, that's Joe Jacobson, EFL legend. Joseph, just first up, hello. That chat with Rob Couig seems to have done the rounds on social media, and people are talking about it.
Of course, yeah. First of all, nice to be back with you again. Always a pleasure. I always feel like I learn a lot just from speaking to you, whether it's on camera, off camera. You know everything that's going on in the world of EFL. So this is just like a lesson for me speaking to you.
Joe. Lovely compliment that
is. So yeah, going back to the Rob stuff, it really went round. I think it's such a big story to talk about that's been going on, seems like for forever at Reading, and we all really hope, we spoke about before, that it gets sorted out. And Rob was great. He was really open, really honest, and I think that's what you want, isn't it, from an owner? You want your owner of your football club to be able to say what's going on at football club, not just come out when things are going well and you've had a good transfer window, but in the bad times as well. And some people will like it, some people won't, but the fact that he's out there talking about it, I think it's a good thing.
I wonder what happens now with Reading going forward. It's going to be an interesting time for that football club. I'm going on Saturday, and going to chat to some of the supporters as well for TV. But it's going to be fascinating to see how this all plays out. Look, Dai Young has form, doesn't he, for seeing two clubs disappear off the face of the earth, two of his former clubs, and we just don't want that to happen to Reading.
No, not at all. And look, I think the EFL now under a little bit of pressure to not let that happen again. It happened a couple of years ago with Bury, a few years before that with Macclesfield as well. So the EFL really need to step up, I think, and make sure that they do everything possible to not let that happen. And, it's unthinkable, isn't it, the size of a club of Reading that could happen too. And seems to be the April the 5th is the big kind of deadline day for something to be in place, and I just hope for everyone's sake that that day comes around. There's some good news for the Reading fans.
Absolutely, loads to get into this week. Before we go through the leagues, let's look at our top story, and that broke midweek Tuesday. Gareth Ainsworth, friend. Well, I'd say I don't even say friend of the show because he's not been on yet, but someone we know very, 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 very well, deciding to walk away from Shrewsbury Town and head over to Gillingham, owned by Braden Shangallinson of America. What do you make of it? It all kind of just happened, didn't it?
Really, really strange. I didn't see this one coming. For Gillingham as well, I didn't see them getting rid of John Coleman. He was on a contract to the end of the season. The season was kind of petering out, wasn't it? Nothing really going on. And in fact, he'd had a couple of decent results against Walsall and Bradford. So you kind of thought that he was probably in a decent spot there. And all of a sudden, there's rumours going around about Gillingham coming in for Gareth Ainsworth and wanting them to start setting up for next season. As soon as that happened, for Gareth then to leave Shrewsbury again was a bit of a shock. With, we've all seen his interviews talking about the project, the long-term goal that he wants to set for the football club, talking about next season. The owner came out and released a statement saying that they'd offered Gareth Ainsworth an extended 2-year contract. So I'm trying to speak to him. I've been trying to message him. I spoke to his assistant, Richard Dobson, who, was saying, look, it's been a really, really tough week, a really tough decision. And the fact that they're both from down south and especially Dobber, who's down on the south coast, I think it was a move that would benefit them at their personal lives as well as anything else. So look, it's a good opportunity at Gillingham. I think they've got a good project in place that they want to do something next season. But for Shrewsbury Town, I think it kind of left them a little bit in the lurch. And I think Roland Wycherley, the owner of Shrewsbury Town, saying this is the most kind of crazy week he's had as an owner of a football club, and one thing that he didn't see coming.
I don't know. I'm mixed on this one. I'm really mixed on this one. It's the fact that Shrewsbury put a release clause in Gareth Ainsworth's contract. That there was a financial release clause, and that was met by Gillingham. I know people who turn around to me going, well, it wasn't clean. It wasn't a case of, Gareth said, right at the end of the season, I'm going to leave and go to Gillingham. I'm going to see out the season at Shrewsbury. I'm going to go to Gillingham. Can I ask you why he wouldn't do that? Why would you do that? Go on, Joe.
No, I was going to say as soon as that initial conversation has happened, as soon as there's been an approach and his head has been turned, you have to go. You can't stay there to the end of the season. You can't, because both teams have to be planning for next season now. They both
Thank you very
pretty
much.
much know which division they're going to be in next season. So they have to start planning for that. Meetings have to take place. Start speaking to players, start speaking to agents. And if you're doing that with a manager who knows he's not going to be there, I just don't think it sits well. And players aren't going to want to sign for a club thinking, well, I don't know who the manager is going to be. It's going to be a really awkward conversation. So also the players there, are they going to, start being a bit different, acting a bit different? Is the manager going to give his all if he knows that he's not going to be there in 8 weeks' time? So for me, as soon as that initial conversation happened, it's been brutal. It's been a brutal week for Shrewsbury, but football moves on very, very quickly, and all of a sudden now, within 2 days, 48 hours, they've got a new man in charge in Michael Apperton. And I think now they can start looking forward. As much as they wanted Gareth Ainsworth in place, now they've got a new manager and they can move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think that, and I'm not really there with the whole if his head gets turned. It's more a case of Brad and Shan Gallinson at Gillingham they've paid the release clause. They expect their service now. Why would they say to Shrewsbury, yeah, you keep him for the last 9 games of the season? Don't worry about it, guys. You hold on to him for the last 9 games of the season, and we'll see how it goes, and then we'll go and take him on the first of June or whatever it is. Nah, that's not how it happens.
I agree. And also, for Gareth's sake, if he knows he's going to Gillingham, he wants to get in there now. He wants to go and see what the squad's about. He wants to see what the stadium's about, the training ground, where he can do improvements over the summer.
They've got a huge amount of players out of contract. It's about judging the squad as well and saying, right, you're going to be part of my plans. You're not going to be part of my plans. And saying to the owners, right, what's the well? We know there's going to be budget at Gillingham next year. I know for a fact that football club is so frustrated at this season, and they've had a very bad season. Let's make no bones of it. It's been an abysmally poor season for them. But they're so frustrated in the sense of they expected to be punching at the top end of what is a weak division. And it is a weak division, Joe. Yeah. It's a poor division this year. And I speak to so many people who turn around and they talk to me about League Two going, oh, they're not good, X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. Turn around, I go, in League Two, you're not going to find a complete footballer. You're going to find someone who has one huge attribute and one weakness and one massive attribute and one kind of decent one. And it's about putting them all together. And that's what Gillingham have missed out on this year, hugely, savagely. And make no bones about it, they've brought in a winner. They've got someone in there who knows how to navigate the division, has got a good contacts book. And for them, they don't care about Shrewsbury. They're going to be playing each other next season. Yeah. It'll be a 6-pointer next season. They're going to be, having to battle for 6 points. Forget anything else. It's just the way it is. He shouldn't have had a release clause in his contract if that was the way it is.
Yeah, and all managers will have that, and all managers will be thinking about themselves. Look, you sign for a club as a manager. The first thing you're going to do is talk about the long-term project, how you want to be there for a long time. That just happens, doesn't it? Every manager's interview that's ever been hired by a football club, no one's ever come out and said, I'm only going to be here for a little while until I move on to something that suits me a little bit more. And there's the romantic side of football, isn't there? That where people are very emotionally involved into their football clubs and to managers, to players. And when it doesn't go their way or they feel like someone's let them down, they take it personally. But in this case, a manager's, like I said, he's had to think about it. I know Gareth, and I know that he'll be gutted that he didn't manage to keep Shrewsbury up. I think that he would have gone in there with genuine expectations of himself and the team and trying to get them to perform how he wanted them to keep him in the division. It hasn't worked out that way.
Do you think taking the job was a mistake?
No, I don't think so. I know the manager. I know Gareth Ainsworth very, 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 very well, and I think that kind of situation suits him, and he would have thrived on it. But I also think now the Gillingham one, I see it as a great fit. Gillingham over the years have been a place you go to Priestfield, and it's a really tough place to go. It's a challenging atmosphere to play in. And it's so close.
That's such a cliche.
Yeah, and it is, but
such a cliche.
But it is. And some clubs you go to and you think it's going to be a nice day down here. And I'm not probably going to mention these. I think of you put me on the spot there. I think of teams. I can't. Who am I going to upset here now? a team like Exeter, something like that, where it's a really well-supported club. The fans are great, but it's not intimidating. I don't think
I mean,
it's like aggressive.
a club
There's
where you go there and
fans.
you're like, oh,
Well, not
this is
necessarily
nice.
but I think they've always played a good brand of football. And they're used to being a really nice, well-run football club, a fan-owned football club. So, but the fans aren't aggressive. They're very, very well supported, and there's a great atmosphere there. But it's not. There's a difference between a good atmosphere and an aggressive atmosphere. I feel like Gillingham can sometimes have that aggressive atmosphere, which is great for them. And I feel like Gareth will thrive on that. You know what he's like on the sidelines. He's jumping up. If anyone's not seen Gareth Ainsworth on the touchline, the ball will go up for a 50-50 in the middle of the pitch, and he's shoulder barging his assistant and winning the header on the touchline in the dugout. So I think it's a good fit, and I really do hope, knowing him and Richard Dobson, that they get success there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Brad Gallinson, Shan Gallinson, Ainsworth, and Dobber, no doubt. This is EFL Today. It's me, Aaron Paul, and him over there, Joe Jacobson. Great to be alongside you. Let's go straight into our weekend previews and starting the championship, Joe. It's back. We're looking forward to it tonight. We talked extensively about Sheffield United, Coventry. I'm excited for this one.
I am, yeah. And also, because we've had that break, the 2-week break with the international, I don't know about you, but I don't like an international break. I'm really not a fan of it. I know there's more lights, more eyes on the EFL, but Leagues 1 and 2, there's games missing. It's not a full fixture list. I feel like the top end of League 1 don't necessarily play, and the champ don't, and I miss it. So what a way to bring it back with a bang. Sheffield United against Coventry, two teams in great form. Both need wins for different reasons, or where they are in the table. And I think it's so tight. I'm still not sure which way it's going to go. If I had £1 to put on or $1 to put on, I'd put it on Sheffield United. But if you said I think so. I just think that I don't see many goals either in this game.
Really? I think there will be goals. I look at someone like a Haji Wright, who's in such form, to come in and absolutely tear it up.
Yeah, no, scoring a hat-trick in the last game against Sunderland was massive. And what a result that was as well. And I know, what it's like. You go into an international break on the back of a 3-0 win. You're desperate just to get the next game. So I'm hoping for them that they don't then have 10 days, 2 weeks to kind of stew on it. And then your energy's kind of dissipate a little bit. They want another game straight away. So I'm hoping for Haji Wright and Coventry that they jump straight back into the fire, as it were, and talking about great atmospheres, intimidating atmospheres. Sheffield United at Bramall Lane definitely has that. And it's going to be a full house, isn't it, tonight, Friday night? And really looking forward to watching that one.
A point takes them top. So they are currently level on points with Leeds United. It's worth mentioning as well, Sheffield United did have a points deduction at the start of the season. Without that, they would have been very much top of the tree. But just taking a look at those fixtures, and there's big games at the top and at the bottom. Leeds taking on Swansea. Swansea absolutely stinking the place out, mate. And you can't talk about it as a Cardiff boy, yeah?
Well, yeah. I mean, stinking the place out or having a lovely season, in my opinion.
He hates Swansea.
They're having such a bad season. They're still miles ahead of Cardiff. That's the problem at the minute. That sums up where Cardiff's at right now. But they're just they don't know what's going on there. The ownership issues they've had off the pitch.
It's been a mess. It's a mess.
And what was it? Premier League club? What, 5-6 years ago?
No, maybe a little bit more than that. It's coming up 10 years. Now? It's coming up 8-10 years, something like that.
But they were in the Premier League for a decent amount of time and built the club up really, really well. And for Swansea fans, it's a shame where they are at the minute. They're not really competing where they should be. They should be competing at the top end of the Championship.
The one word I use to describe their whole downfall: identity. They came into the Premier League playing this brand of football under Brendan Rodgers, which was swashbuckling. It was exciting. You remember the playoff final? They absolutely smashed Reading to pieces. Great side to watch. Really enjoyable to watch in the Premier League. They went and won the League Cup. They went into Europe. But then it all starts going downhill. The appointment of Bob Bradley, I was close to calling him Brad Bobley, but because that's what the English media and people mocked him and called him Brad Bobley. But the appointment of Bob Bradley was nothing short of a disaster. People looked at him and sort of had no respect for him instantly. But him, Francisco Guidolin. You think of all the head coaches that came through the recruitment and the style of football they went down playing was nothing short of shambolic. It was the furthest thing away from their identity that they could have. And ever since then, it's just been a perilous mess. Their owners have had no interest. They've got themselves a new owner, say newish owner. He's been in since last year, but it's just not working. It is not working.
No, and do you know what? If the season was a little bit longer, I'd be worried. I think they'll be all right just because the amount of teams that are in between them and the relegation zone. But they're only
I'll worry
6
about him next season.
Yeah, I do as well. And recruitment hasn't been great the last couple of seasons. They might lose 1 or 2 more as well in the summer. And it's a shame. They've got Alan Sheehan there, who's just been given the caretaker job to the end of the season. Another one of my ex-teammates. I feel like everyone who's a
Good
manager
guy.
in the EFL, really good guy. Yeah, really nice guy. And he's earned his stripes, hasn't he? Being an assistant manager, he's been at a few clubs with Russell Martin at Southampton and Swansea before. So yeah, he knows the club. It's probably what they need right now: a bit of stability, someone who knows the club, someone who can have that affiliation with the fans. And I think it's a decent appointment. And look, why not give it to him full time? He's gone in. He had a good couple of results as soon as he went in there. Why not give it to him full time? I don't necessarily see these appointments to the end of the season. Like, what do you want to gain out of that? And then after that, he does well. Where does he go afterwards?
That deems that the ownership believe that the season's over. There's nothing to play for.
Yeah, and that he's not good enough to be their full-time manager next season. Because if not, why would you not give him the job?
I think there's more of a political reason. I think it's more a case of they're going to be making changes in the hierarchy. Andy Coleman, the chairman, has said he's stepping away. He's going to be leaving the running to someone else. They've brought someone in, Tom Gorringe from Bristol Rovers, who's going to be sort of fronting things for them effectively. There'll be changes at that football club. I think that's what it is with them more than anything. Plus, with the greatest respect, they're gonna want to get someone in the closed season to assess properly. Maybe they haven't got the budget set. I don't know. What do we know? We're sat here just speculating. But what I can tell you is they're going to get battered by Leeds.
Yeah, I agree. I think Leeds need to put a statement performance
100%
together. I think they need a real statement. I think if they're on it, this could be a really long afternoon for Swansea City. This could be, I don't want to put it out there and get completely shoved in my face with this, but this could be a 4-5-0 in my opinion. I think Leeds have to come out firing at Ellen Road in front of their fans. And as well, if Sheffield United get a really good result, it puts that little bit of pressure that they have to then come out, I feel. So, yeah, it could be a long afternoon for Swansea City.
Just taking a look at the other game involving a team at the top, Burnley taking on Bristol City. Now, what's interesting with Burnley is I don't feel they score enough goals. They don't concede goals, but they don't score goals. I also don't feel Bristol City score enough goals.
They've scored 1 goal less than Sheffield United this season.
They don't score
and
enough
goals. It feels like they draw 0-0 every week or win 1-0 every week.
Burnley have scored 52 goals this season in the Championship. Bristol City have scored 49, and I don't feel they score enough goals either.
Yeah, I agree. Go on.
So no, them two play each other. Third taking on 7th. What have you made of Bristol City this year? I'm fascinated by Liam Manning. Firstly, we've got to caveat everything by saying the tragedy he suffered earlier this season. To come back from that, losing his son Theo is incredible. Like, it shows so much about the man. And I read an article the other week with him, and I was sort of like, I was on the cusp of tears. It was really such an emotional read. He seems like a great human being. He seems like he's really bought into what the club does. I think it's a huge job for him, this massive job for him, considering where he's come from. Milton Keynes, Oxford, didn't work out there, and now he's at Bristol City. Big club, big expectation, huge infrastructure. They're ticking along nicely. I just wonder, do they have the minerals, Bristol City, to keep it going to the playoffs?
In my opinion, yes. I think they've got a lot of younger, hungry players in their team at the minute. I look at someone like Anis Mehmeti, an ex-teammate of mine, I feel like this has been his coming of age season, especially in the Championship. I feel like he's become the main man there. When I was at Wycombe with him, he thrived on that. He thrived on being the main man, and thrived on the players around him, like going, go on, Anis, go and be the magic man today, go and win us the game. And he did really well and got his move from that. And I feel like now this season, especially the last couple of months, he's really taken that on board. He's their top goal scorer this season. He's playing further forward, more centrally at times as well, where I think he's really, really dangerous. And he's got that mentality, you know that like people see about Cristiano Ronaldo mentality. It's all about just drive, determination to get to the best. He has that. I see how hard he works. And for Bristol City, they've been that nearly. It's been a weird club, isn't it? The last decade or so, and I've every year I think this could be the year that they have a right good go. They're in the mix. They should have been, at some point in the playoffs or challenging for promotion to the Premier League. I feel with the infrastructure they got, the stadium's brilliant there. They've got a new training ground, which is fantastic. And I just believe that this season they've got the momentum at the minute. I believe they'll get into the playoffs. If they do, look, whoever loses out of that top three is going to be massive favourite for the playoffs, in my opinion. But they're going to have to deal with the heartache of missing out on automatics. And I think that's where a team who finishes sixth might be able to hit them hard when they get to the playoffs.
I'll put down a marker right now, happily, and say if Leeds United don't make if Leeds United don't make promotion automatically and they make the playoffs, they don't win the playoffs.
Oh, wow. Okay. Why is that?
They're just historically, Leeds United do not win the playoffs.
Well, yeah, it's interesting you say that. And I think they've been such heavy favourites, haven't they, all season? From day one, Leeds United were the team to beat. They obviously missed out on the playoffs last season. So they're going to have that in the back of their mind, thinking we cannot go through that again. The fans don't want to go through that again. The players, that scars you. Losing out in the playoffs scars you as a player. And they know that they have to go up automatically. And I do still think they will. I do, but weekly, depending on results, that changes. So don't quote me on this going forward next week when they could be third. That's the thing, they could be third by the end of the weekend. And all of a sudden then they're playing catch-up, which is ridiculous.
Absolutely. Let's look back at the situation at the bottom. Hull City taking on Luton Town lunchtime on Saturday. Now, Luton have been showing signs of life. 7 points from their past 4 games. They go into the weekend second bottom, though, 2 points ahead of Plymouth and 4 behind fourth bottom Cardiff, who have a better goal difference. Hull are 2 points and 2 places further up than Cardiff City. And the situation down the bottom, it's a mess as well. I don't know how Hull City in there. I genuinely don't know how Hull City are in there. Considering the season they had last year, I think the owner will probably sit there and look back at his decision to sack Liam Rosina and just go, yeah, that was a mistake. And you have to live and you learn. You have to live and you learn. But yeah, a really strange club there. I worry for Stoke City. New recruitment man coming in for the summer over there. The 15 millionth one they've had. It is what it is. There's some big football clubs in there, Joe. Some really big football clubs in there.
But I think the Champions League is like that, isn't it? There's only 3 or 4 that are non-ex-Premier League teams. So they're all big clubs. They're all huge clubs with the expectation at the start of the season. I look at all of those teams down there, Hull, Stoke, Cardiff, not Derby because they've just come up, but Luton especially. They would have all been expecting to have, this could be a good season for us. We're looking at playoffs and having a push in that direction. All of a sudden you find yourself in the bottom 6 or 7 going into the last 6 weeks of the season. Luton, this game Luton Hull is huge, and I was thinking about it earlier. Is it a must-win game or is it a must-not lose game? I feel for both teams it's a must-not lose game.
I think for Luton it's a must-win.
Luton's running is very difficult, and their next 3 away games I think are Hull, Stoke, and Derby. The 3 teams there that are right in the mix with them, and they do need to get points on those games. I think if Hull beat them, then they're not catching Hull. Then you look at Derby, Stoke, and Cardiff, and again Cardiff. I might go to the game this weekend against Sheffield Wednesday. That's a big game for them. They've come off the international break. When I spoke earlier about having that momentum, amazing victory against Blackburn, which they needed desperately, by the way, to give them 2 weeks of probably a bit of calmness, take that panic away. We just had a good result, but they need to back that up now against Sheffield Wednesday team who flirted a little bit with the playoffs or within, the remit of the players. They're probably still thinking if we win every game, we could still maybe get into the playoffs. I don't think they will, But I think for Cardiff, it's a good opportunity to again try and increase that gap to the bottom three.
We are fast running out of time, and so we need to rattle through things very, very quickly. But into League One, Birmingham, of course, top of the league, 83 points so far. They're cruising towards it. Well, they take on bottom of the league, Shrewsbury. Michael Appleton in through the door to replace Gareth Ainsworth, but it's looking like a perilous situation for Shrewsbury. Birmingham taking on Shrewsbury. Elsewhere, Wrexham. Who do they play? They go away to Joe's Exeter City. Exeter, it's a lovely place to go, as Joe mentioned. Exeter in 16th, Wrexham in second, and it's all about putting down foundation to Wrexham. Although Wycombe Wanderers do play tomorrow, they're 3 points behind Wrexham with a better goal difference. And so the race for promotion very much on. Wycombe welcoming Lincoln City to Adams Park. The game that I'm looking at is at lunchtime. Charlton taking on Huddersfield. And again, the race to the playoffs in this division, Joe, is interesting. Charlton with this mammoth run of form, beaten last week, granted, by Peterborough, and that would have come as a shock to Nathan Jones. But the rest of the teams chasing for the playoffs. Leyton Orient winning last night. They're showing signs of recovery. Reading very much in there. I'm going to watch them at the weekend. Bolton in there. Huddersfield in there. You'd think Blackpool a little bit too far away.
Yeah, I agree. It's really hotting up, isn't it? And that result for Leyton Orient as well, which I didn't think a week or two ago. I thought they may have been out of it again, but they put themselves right back in the mix. And again, Richie Wellens, what a job he's done there at Leyton Orient. No one would have given them a chance, because I think League One is the strongest it's been, or on paper, for a long, long time. And I don't think anyone would have put Leyton Orient in that mix at the top six, but shows what an amazing job they've done there. They've had some great loanees from Spurs, especially, and Charlie Kelman. We spoke about Anis Mehmeti kind of finding his moment to step up. Charlie Kelman's certainly doing that this season for Leyton Orient. And again, I feel like the bottom four's done. However, Burton are the only ones I feel that have an opportunity to possibly stay up with Gary.
Do you worry for your old club, Bristol Rovers?
Yes, especially losing Chris Martin as well this week. They're really struggling for forwards at the minute, and losing Chris Martin has been a big blow as well. And I just think they're really struggling. They went to Crawley, lost to Crawley, and they're really looking at where they're getting their goals from, where are they going to get their wins from at the minute. And when you start panicking, looking over your shoulder, a couple of weeks ago they would have thought, oh, we're 10 points, whatever it is, we're fine. But all of a sudden now it's 6 points, and they're thinking, Burton, they got a really tough game against Stockport, but it just takes the one win to swing things around. And 3 points then is almost like, oh crap, we're right in the mix here. So Bristol Rovers have got a really big weekend ahead of them, and for them and my ex club, I feel like got a good opportunity against Mansfield. I think Mansfield haven't been in great form the last couple of months, and at one point we're playoff contenders, and now they'd be happy just to survive. So. League One, there's nothing kind of being cemented yet, apart from Birmingham, the bottom three, but there's still places for the playoffs and one relegation spot for me.
Quickly into League Two, the situation at the top is a shambles because no one wants it. No one wants automatics. 8 points separate first to 6. Walsall leading the way on 70 points. Bear in mind, they were 12 points clear at one point, and I know. If they don't go up, it will be the biggest bottling history. I mean, it'd be like a Coca-Cola plant out there. But Walsall 70 points from their 38 games. Bradford City hot on their heels, 69. Wimbledon 64. Port Vale 64. Port Vale beaten the other night. They had a game in hand over Wimbledon. I sat there, I bit my nails. Port Vale hit the post 4 times, but guess what? Barrow, everyone's favourite showstoppers, the ones who just turn up and just mess everything up. They went and beat Port Vale. So Port Vale level on points with Wimbledon on 64, but Wimbledon with a massive goal difference. Doncaster 63 points, Notts County on 62. The top 10 sides in League Two, Joe, have only won 8 of their past 30 games combined. Discuss.
It is mental. And you mentioned it earlier, didn't you, about players playing in League Two, because they're not the complete footballer. And I think that sums up what's going on at the minute, is that it's just the inconsistency. And that's why players, and I was one of those players as well, you're in League One and League Two because you can't produce the consistent top performances every single week. And it's shown with the results. It's going to be a really low tally, isn't it, this season for whoever wins it. And Walsall, unthinkable that they could finish second, let alone outside of the top three 6 weeks ago. All of a sudden, they don't win for 6 games. They now play Wimbledon, Doncaster, and Port Vale in the next 3 games, which is crazy. You think that they could easily get 0 points from that. And what position are they in then, scrambling with the last kind of 4 or 5 games at the end of the season, needing to pick up wins? I'm telling you now, at Christmas time, those players would have been in that dressing room thinking, right, lads, where are we going on our promotion party? Shall we start booking things now? Start booking holidays in May, because playoffs, that's nothing to do with us. But these players now are starting to panic, and it's about time they do step up again for Matt Sadler and Walsall.
I'm bracing myself for Saturday lunchtime's game between Walsall and my mob, AFC Wimbledon. It's gonna be tough, like it always is in the Football League. Crew playing Port Vale, Accrington, Stanley, Bradford, and down the bottom, Tranmere Rovers. There's some games tonight. Tranmere Rovers are involved in action tonight. They take on Cheltenham Town, and Tranmere have had again another stinker of a season, but only 2 teams go down. They could be 9 points clear if they win tonight, and that could be not curtains for Carlisle, because Carlisle they're showing fight under Mark Hughes, but it might start the curtain might start twitching a little bit, Joe. It's moving.
Barely, yes, barely. But Tranmere, they've been actually in decent form. They're unbeaten in 5 games, and play a Cheltenham team who are mid-table, probably got not a lot to play for going into the final couple of weeks of the season. So it's an opportunity. I think a win for them, and Carlisle don't win, then I feel like it's probably curtains for Mark Hughes and Carlisle. They got a tough game away at Doncaster. But just going back, I just wanted to pick up on one thing where you mentioned midweek about Port Vale and Barrow. Did you see this social media team for Barrow after the game? Because Port Vale tweeted or put on X at the end of the game, after hitting the woodwork 4 times, we lose to Barrow. So Barrow replied saying, unlucky for us tonight, we go again, and put the scoreline as 4-1 to Port Vale, and it listed the 4 names and minutes that they hit the crossbar on the post. And I think social media admin has become a real big kind of player in the EFL, and it's something in the future we need to speak about more there.
I don't know if we can use this word, but I'm going to use it. It's called shithousery. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's great. It's absolutely great. Joe, very quickly before we close the show, I want to delve in to your mind and find out what you've been thinking about this week.
Gary Caldwell, the Exter City manager. I spoke about their fans maybe not having too much aggression, which I'm sure people are going to come back at me for. But Gary Caldwell has probably got too much aggression, or he thinks that his Scottish accent is too aggressive, because that's what he's blaming his red card for against Lincoln. He's saying that he didn't swear, he wasn't aggressive, but his Scottish accent got him a red card. Now, just going on to that, we see managers get sent off a lot, and the referee comes over and they trudge off like naughty little school kids, don't they, managers, when they get sent off? They go in the tunnel. It's what do they do after that? Do they go and sit just in the tunnel and sit there and thinking about, what have I done wrong? And you can, some stadiums as well, you can go into the changing rooms and you can listen, you can hear the crowd. There's TVs on. Do they go and try and find a TV where they can watch the game on? There's a famous clip of years ago when Laurie Sanchez was the manager of Wickham when they beat Leicester in the FA Cup, and he was in the tunnel watching the winner on a tiny little monitor. So I'm just
Who scored the winner?
Roy Essendon, an absolute hero of Wickham Wanderers, goes down in folklore. And again, probably don't need to talk about that now, but how they signed him using teletext, which was how would you describe teletext? An information on your televisions before the internet and everything like that gave you interest.
It was wild.
Very wild. But that's my brain this week is churning out. What do managers actually get up to when they get sent off? What about you this week?
I want to talk about loyalty in football, because this week we've heard about Gareth Ainsworth, and people have gone on about him moving on and deciding to leave his job at Shrewsbury and head over to Gillingham. In the Premier League, we are so used to it. And you watch a Premier League, and anytime a player does something, it's kind of like, oh, well, there you go. Like, he's moving on to bigger and better things. But in the EFL, it feels like it really hurts people. It resonates with people. You'll have people printing pictures of snakes with Gareth Ainsworth's head on it. It's going to happen. And it has happened already. But I just feel that in the EFL, things are just sort of like a demi-tone more emotional. And I've noticed that this week. And that's, that's what's been on my mind this week.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
There you go. That is it. EFL today. Enjoy the Football League weekend, guys. Can't wait to talk to you all again on Monday when we will review the weekend's action. No doubt there will be stories left, right, and centre from me, Aaron Port, and him, Joe Jacobson. Have a brilliant weekend. We'll catch you the other side.